Alrighty, we are back. Episode 15. I think it is. I just say a random episode number at this point. We could be 13,
I think
16.
it's 16.
It might be 16. I don't know. But I personally think it's 15. So we'll find out when we post this video. But otherwise,
I'm leading today.
Episode 15. We just did a live on the last one. So if you ever want to tune in again, we'll probably post when we plan to do that. It sounds like that may or may not be in our near future, but we will see. One of us likes it, one of us doesn't.
I'm working on it.
Yes,
that was stressful, but
it's a change. It's not comfortable, but you only grow in uncomfortable situations.
Amen.
Come on now.
So
but anyways, we're Mackenzie Photo and Film, based in Kansas City, do destination weddings around the world. And we are just here to, number one, help brides out, and number two, just allow you to know us better. Photo video teams are with you all day. And so if you can know your team that much better on the wedding day, I think that it's going to allow you to be more comfortable and just allow you to be you, knowing that whoever's documenting your day, you're comfortable with. Yeah. And so we're here to bring you that episode. And we're talking about a couple of topics that Gretchen has in mind, and so I'm gonna let her go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Sorry, I have to have notes because I can't remember anything.
Okay.
Let's see. I think I first want to start off with just the aspect of boundaries in our work and in our business that we've created this year that have really helped us stay creative and really able to serve our couples to our fullest because we're not drained and overworked. So I think there's a time and place for booking anything and everything that you can. You need to get experience. You need to get your name out there. Absolutely. You need to grind at the beginning. We're still grinding, but it just feels different and it feels good for us. And it's just a good pace. So something that we're really working on is, again, just figuring out how many weddings like we can really fully take in a year and what kind of fits good for us. And at the end of the day, again, we want to be present and extremely open and ready to serve you on your day. So one thing that has really helped us is kind of doing those boundaries, and it also helps us in our marriage too. A couple of things that I kind of wrote down were, I think a big one is just making sure we don't overbook in a month. So right now we say like 2 to 3 max per month for weddings. Even if we get an amazing dream inquiry, sometimes we really have to just ground ourselves and figure out if that's going to overdo it. For example, like this September is crazy for us. We've booked a lot, but we have our October open because we know that we're going to need a break and some time. So I don't know if you just kind of want to talk about what we do and just how it feels, when that we're not overworking and overbooking ourselves and kind of what that does to our business.
Yeah. And so to stay fresh when it comes to that, it's important, number one, booking wise, just to make sure you're looking at your calendar and knowing what you are comfortable with and making sure you put things into place to make sure you're resetting every week. And then obviously on the back end, when it comes to editing too, making sure that you set aside time, like these are the days I edit, these are the days I don't, but it's not every single day, every minute, because that is easily how we found ourselves burnt out in the past. And
yes,
so,
for sure.
Number one, I would say it starts with that, putting those systems into place so that we can make sure that we feel good going into every single wedding, because we want to be the best version of ourselves at the wedding day itself. Yeah. Because every wedding to that bride or that groom is so special, and we don't want to be, a team that's doing a lot of weddings for us. I'm not going to put a number out there because everybody does something different. Yeah. But a lot of weddings for us where we know that when we come to that next weekend or the next day or whatever, we're just not going to be our full selves.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's so important, knowing that number for you. Some people might be 10. Some people might be like 50, 60. Yeah. We found our number and it varies every year. Yeah. I don't think any year is essentially the same, but there's some years we do more, some years we do less. And that is something that we figured out over time. And so that's really big too, is just we've been able to figure that out since being in the industry for 7 years, 7-8 years at this point. And so that too, and then using each other, obviously there's going to be periods and seasons where you're going to feel a little bit more burnt out, because as a photographer photographer, the lead photographer at least, requires a little bit different energy from you on the wedding day. Like wedding day wise, I think you can get very burnt if, you know, it's a busy month or things like that, because you're more of the voice on the wedding day versus me, where I'm more laid back and just not as much of a focal point, because the photographer usually is leading the day outside of having the planner too. So there's that part of it. But then on the editing side, I feel like I can get a little bit more burn if I don't schedule things correctly, because editing video wise, it's a
more.
lot, but video wise, it's quite a bit as well. And so knowing that, and then in those seasons, it's like, okay, I have a lot of editing to catch up on. Like, you're going to take over social, or, you know, you have a lot to do on the wedding day. So I'm going to go run and tell dad or mom this and that. Like finding how to balance as a couple and the husband and wife team.
It's so good.
It's so important. And that's one of the biggest things of being a husband and wife team, is that you can have, you know, that teamwork on the wedding day versus like two vendors that are just meeting each other. Like, maybe that photographer might be like, hey, videographer, can you go tell dad this? And they might do it, but they might just keep it themselves, because like, I don't know this person. Versus you're like, go tell dad this. I'm like, yes, ma'am.
But I also, I also know that during family photos, you're not doing much sometimes, or like you have that availability to run and go. And I don't ever want to boss someone else around on a wedding day, you know, so it's kind of nice to boss you around. No, I'm just kidding. But you did talk about like our strengths and our weaknesses. And this is something that we have really poured into this year, figuring out what I'm good at, what you're good at, what I struggle with, and just honestly kind of giving you specific jobs and me specific jobs to really give it our all. I am just so grateful to be able to do this with you, because it's not all on me. And I kind of look back on when I first started and I was a full-time nurse and doing weddings on the side. Like, number one, I don't know how I did it. And number two, I know why I was so burnt out, because I had the burden of all of it. So you being able to kind of take some stuff off of my shoulders and vice versa with me, it's been really great for our business. And I feel like it's definitely helped us just grow for sure. So one of the things we do, for example, I would say you are more business oriented and I am more creative oriented. We can both bounce back and forth, but you have a lot of strengths in money, budgeting, taxes. Gosh, I haven't looked at taxes in a while. So you're like so good with that. You're also you're good with ideas on wedding day that I'm either like so overwhelmed and I'm like, I forgot this. Like, you're able to ground me on wedding days when my mind is running 1,000 miles a minute. And then I can do more social media posts because you don't love that, or, you know, there's an aesthetic that we kind of follow and I have that eye. So it's so cool to just pour into our strengths and our weaknesses. But it's also been hard to acknowledge those and to give you like the full reign on those.
Yeah, there's just a lot when it comes to a photo and video business that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in another podcast too, when it comes to pricing with photo and video. I think it was episode 11 or 12, and we'll link it down in the description. But there's just so much with photo and video that people don't realize. And the business side, when it comes to taxes, things like that, when you're self-employed, the posting side and making sure you're staying active and staying present in front of your couples, because you know, the more they see you, the more comfortable they get with you. And that's such a big part of like who we are and what photo video is in the wedding world. But it's quite a bit of work at the end of the day to make sure that you are staying present, because there's just days you're like, oh man, like I don't feel like being in front of the camera today, or whatever the case may be. It's not as easy as some people can make it look. I don't think maybe we make it look easy. Maybe we don't. I don't know.
The amount of times I like cry or almost cry before a podcast, like it's hard. Yeah,
it's tough. It's not easy. And so, like, for example, if you were just like, hey, I'm gonna post a 15-second clip of me talking on my Instagram story, I would be curious to see, like, in your head, it's like, oh, it's not that bad, but then you get to it and it's like
how many takes
it can sometimes seem, or sometimes actually take. And so those things are tough, and that's just, you know, phase 2. And then phase 3 is just making sure that you're building relationships within the wedding world and making sure you're talking to other photo and video teams, and also networking with planners and
Yes.
all of that, because that's so important to make sure that you are, showing, your business and
Yep.
who you are as a company and all of that. And so there's a lot of different things when it comes to photo and video and what that entails. But it's just, it can be a lot if you are not organized, or as a team if you don't have those roles. And I think this year we've done an amazing job with organizing, like, hey, like, you are so good at the creative, like we just redid our website the last week, and your creative vision with that and putting that together and redefining ourselves as a brand, and who we want to serve. That has been a lot of you, whereas like I can help you with that, but you are the engine behind that whole system. And so realizing those things can help out so much, but it takes time to get to that point.
Yeah. And again, you also, it was hard for me to fully like surrender some of the jobs and to let go of that control in it, and just trusting you. I mean, we're husband and wife. We've been together for 7 years, 8 years. So it's like we do know each other, but then transitioning a business from like just mine to ours, there's a lot of things that you have to talk about and you have to be open about. So that's a big one. You talked a little bit about it, but planners for us is so crucial, and it's also crucial for our bride and groom for sure. But one thing that I really struggle with sometimes is, number one, I like hated planning our wedding. I didn't like the planning process. I don't know like what term you could call me, but I don't like the planning, but I like the ending of it. Like I want everyone else to do the work and then I get to capture it. And I think it's kind of weird sometimes to think about it, but if I'm able to capture it and to bring the planner, the bride, the groom, like their vision to life, like that fills my cup. The planning doesn't at all. So having an amazing planner who can bring the vision to life for the bride and groom, and we're able to capture it, is huge. And it takes a load off of me that I'm able to say, oh, we're working with so-and-so, like we're going to show up, it's going to be unreal, and they're going to take care of all of that day of stuff so I can focus on being creative and intentional with our couples.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to go back to your previous point too with the rules part, because I wanted to mention something on that, because I think that's such a important piece that you mentioned, because it's not as easy as it seems, because we were two separate companies coming together as one once we got married.
Yeah.
And so that piece of it with, now Gretchen Photography and Kenny McKenzie Videography are now one.
Yeah.
We're so used to doing everything. And it took us a little bit to be like, okay, like this is your lane. Not that you can't help with other things, but this is where you shine as an individual. Let's use your strengths in that department, and let's at least use my strengths in this department to come together as one. But there's no sense in us doing everything. And then it's like, we're not making the headway that we could if we're like, you just, work on, or you focus on this and get as good as you can with this, versus I do this and get as good as I can. And then we come together that way.
Yeah.
I always think about LeBron and Dwyane Wade. I mean, you probably don't remember, but when LeBron went to the Heat, and like he's this superstar of an individual, and Dwyane Wade was just as good, not as good, but just as good. And their first year, like as a team, they were better than the other team. Yeah. Like they, talent wise, they were better, like all of that. But as a unit, they just didn't gel because they were both trying to be the number one player. Yeah. And so they ended up losing to a team that like fundamentally was better than them. Yeah. But they weren't better talent wise. And then the second year, it was like LeBron was like, hey, or I think Dwayne was like, hey, you take that leadership role. I'm going to take, the Robin role when it's Batman and Robin. Yeah. And let's treat it that way. And they ended up winning like 2 more championships after that. Yeah. But it was a simple, like, setting roles within their team. Yeah. And I think that's what we did. Not that like one person's LeBron and one person's Dwayne, but it's more of like, you do this, I do this, and let's come together that way, instead of like we're both trying to do the same thing. We're stepping on each other's toes. And then all of that.
It takes a second to figure out. And there's days and there's scenarios where we're like, we butt heads in it. But we're able to, at the end of the day, when I can say, you know what, I trust you. I trust what you decide. That works wonders in our business, and we're able to move forward. So it's been really good, but it's not easy. It's not perfect. We're able to grow in that. So that's been a challenge, but also really fun to see. And we're just able to kind of stay in our own lanes. Like, it's also nice. I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I could never work with my husband or wife. And it's, in a way, yes, we're obviously working together, but then there's a lot of things that we do apart that I'm not extremely involved in, or you're not involved in a way. Like, I don't have any video expertise in that, like editing wise. So you do all that and I do the photography. So it's nice. It's a good little boundary for us, for sure.
And there's a marital principle within this part of our business, a lot of part of our business. But this specifically, when we were talking to our premarital counselor, and that they were like, within your marriage, like, you're not going to be doing it's not going to be 50-50 all of the time.
Yeah.
There's going to be phases where it's 60-40, 75-25, 90-10 at moments. And when, those things happen, like, it's up to the other person to support the other individual in whatever way they need. And so I've always seen that as like the forefront of our marriage. And then obviously bringing that over to business, it took us a little bit to get to there and realize that, but not everything is going to be equal when it comes to deciding on certain things or whatever. And if, we let that get between us, then that can obviously be an issue.
Yeah.
But relinquishing that and being able to be like, hey, I trust you, like you're saying, is not only like a business principle for us, but a marriage principle too, and trusting the certain things that come about when it comes to McKenzie Photo and Film, or the McKenzies themselves.
Yeah, that's good. Another thing I kind of want to talk about is just, we've had a lot of no's, a lot of not even missed opportunities, but just some no's, or, not within budget, or whatever that looks like. I think a lot of people it's easy to look at a business and think, oh my gosh, they're doing so good. Like, they're getting their dream clients and yada, yada. But there's a lot of no's that come before our yeses that we get. I think one of the reasons why is we're very in tune with who we want to work with, and we get to choose that. As much as a bride and groom get to choose us, we get to choose them and decide if we want to work with them. Again, that just comes with time and experience, and just having a business that, you can do that. That's a good part about owning your own business. But something that I've just been really thinking about is all the no's and all of the things that we've had to just wait on. And I think it goes back to God just really preparing our hearts and knowing that God's not going to give us anything that we can't control, or we can't handle. But I think a big part of the no's is that, number one, we weren't ready for whatever reason. So I think there's a few weddings and inquiries and calls that we've gotten on, and we wanted it so bad for whatever reason. But then they went with someone else, and that's okay. But we always like to reflect and to go back to maybe why they didn't choose us, or what we could have done better. And something that we've really worked on is just working on ourselves, working on our business plan. And again, I can think back to a very specific inquiry where we wanted it so bad. And I honestly, I could say we weren't prepared and ready in that moment for that. And I feel God just protecting us and protecting the couple and going with someone else. But that's hard to admit in an industry like this. So I just kind of want to talk through that and what we've learned. Like, is a no hard and we are frustrated, or is it a learning opportunity, and how do we kind of go about that?
Yeah. In terms of no's, I don't look at every no as a negative. Number one, if everybody's saying yes to you, there's also an issue in that.
Yeah.
Like, you got to realize that, because if every person that you're coming in contact with you says yes, maybe you're not charging enough. Maybe you're offering too much. Like, there's so many different reasons as to why they're saying yes.
Yeah.
And everybody is. And so no is not always a bad thing. It's just realizing why they're saying no for different situations is important. Number one being that, hey, if every single person is saying no, like, okay, what are we doing wrong? We need to change some things. Now we're learning. But at the same time, we aren't for everyone too. And so maybe our personality doesn't vibe. And if it doesn't, that's fine. Like you're going to save yourself on the wedding day itself when it comes to finding somebody that matches a little bit with what you want or their style or who they are. That's number one. And then number two, like everybody is different with their financial situations too. There's people that are way more expensive than us. There's people that are way cheaper than us. And so that's going to tailor to certain couples. And so we shouldn't be for everybody, because if we are, we're really for no one almost.
That's
you know
so
what
good.
I mean?
Yeah.
So
good.
That's an important part to realize in hearing those no's, because if you just hear a no and you just take it as a negative and then don't think about anything past the no itself, it can get very discouraging. But at the same time, if you realize like, hey, like we had a no that this couple, it was a good opportunity for us and it was going to be in a publication, and we're like, okay, like we want to get this one. And their reasoning, and again, they might say something else that may not be their true no, but if I took, her word for face value, it was like, this person that we're going with this knows this area better, and that's what made her feel comfortable. And in that situation, like
we can't,
there is nothing I can do to beat the fact that this photographer that they hired just knows that area better. And so if I took that no as like, oh, we're not good enough, this, that, and the third, then that could just snowball and then get in my mind, and then you're just in your head all day as far as like, am I good enough or am I not? But if that's truly what it was, like that's just a no you have to live with, and it's gonna happen.
You just have to also be thankful for the opportunity that we were even thought about, and that's big for us. But it's also just really cool to, again, like you said, be able to say no to some people, not in a bad way or anything like that. But I've also learned a lot about what is important to people, and that is so different on a wedding day. So sometimes, like you said, she's more comfortable with the idea of someone that has already been around the area and is seen and knows the area. Then there's some people that are like, I don't care if you've ever been there. I love your work and we want you to be there for us. So it's really just about, are you good? Okay. It's really just about what's important to the couple. And like you said earlier, we're not going to be for everyone. That's okay. But if they want to value a photo and video team that, can pour into them and love them on their wedding day. Yes, there's a lot of people that do that. But, if our brand speaks to them, then that is enough for them. But everyone that goes into our DMs or inquires with us, that's not what's important to them. Sometimes they want an experience on their wedding, and they're going to put a lot of money into a DJ or dance floor or lighting or florals, and photography is like lower on their list, and that's fine. And that's where, then we can recommend someone that is a little bit lower in price for them. But we are just, I feel like we learn something new from every single client and every single couple that we inquire with to figure out what works best. And at the end of the day, it is our business and our company. So we get to decide kind of what we want to do. And if it's something that we can figure out and serve the client, then that's great. And we can work with them, but sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's okay.
Yeah. I just think of it as like, hey, this beautiful house, and wherever you're envisioning this beautiful house, it's X amount of dollars, way over your budget. And you say, hey, no, I can't do that. It's not like, you're not good enough. You're not this, you're not that.
Yeah.
It's just outside of our reach as far as like what we can do financially as a couple or whatever the case may be. And so that's how I've envisioned us as we continue to get better and grow within our company, because that's going to happen more and more as we make this transition, because we're just continuing to grow. And so a lot of the people that may have come to us before, it may not be as easy of a process for them to work with us, because we're continuing to grow as a company, and that's going to come with raising prices. And it's not a no out of like, I don't like you as an individual. It's just, hey, like this is where we want to be, but we would love to have you. It's not that we wouldn't. It's just, it doesn't work in that sense. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That is what's going to come with growing as an individual, as a company, all of that.
Yeah. I think it's also important to know we're humans too, and we have a lot going on in our lives. And that's also what's kind of nice with not taking as many weddings or being very intentional with what we do take, because then, like I said earlier, our September is going to be crazy. So we have October to relax, to go on a trip with my parents, to just spend time together and recoup. And that's going to be it's going to be needed for our business and for the couples to come and to who we served. But it's also, our life looks different every year. I mean, we don't have kids yet, but at some point we want to start a family and we want to do things and we want to travel. Right now we're in this, like, we don't have a lot of weddings right now or in the next few weeks, but we need to be intentional in another aspect of our life. And it's really cool just to see God's timing in it all. When we want something so bad, but God tells us no, and then we're like, oh, okay, this is why. And it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's amazingly put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, I don't know. I think this was a really good talk, number one, about the ins and outs and what keeps us, like, I guess you can call it refreshed in the sense of when we're going out to shoot a wedding. Because, again, like, it's important to ask and understand what companies do or individuals do with photo or video, because you want somebody to be their full self on that wedding day, because you only have one wedding at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if this person maybe is a little bit drained when it comes to how much they're doing, that might show on your wedding day. You just don't want that.
Yeah.
Because you have one wedding. You want it to be the best version of that wedding that it can be on the day itself and through the photos and the videos too. So it's just so important to ask some of those questions like you were talking about earlier today.
Make sure you're not just a number to a photographer, that you're something that they're looking forward to. It's something that's exciting for them and they're ready to create on your wedding day, and also preserve your day and your love for sure.
What's another way to ask them that? I mean, you can just blatantly ask them, how many weddings do you shoot? But how else would you go about asking somebody to get to the point of, like, seeing how energized they are about a wedding, if that makes sense to the question?
We had someone ask us how we decompress after a wedding, which I thought was really cool, of like how we kind of cope after and what it looks like after a wedding. So I also think you could just also ask, how do you prepare for a wedding? What does it look like going into a wedding for you? We get a lot of people saying, if something happens, with your family, or if you can't be there or whatever, there's been weddings where our hearts are very heavy with something else and our minds are just kind of full with whatever's going on, because we're human and we have things going on in our life, but we're able to turn that off and to be fully present on your day. And I think it's important to ask your photo and video team, what are some hard things that you've had to work through? Like, it's a deep question. It is a deep question, but is there something that went really wrong on a wedding day and how did you handle it? I think is a really good way to put it.
Yeah, we've been asked that once or twice, I think.
Yeah, which I love getting asked that, because people just want to know, like, how do you cope? There's so many ways that people can cope in a stressful situation. Weddings are amazing, but they're very stressful. They only kiss once. They only say I do once. We don't want to say, wait, can you go back and kiss and do all the things? Like, we want it to be in the moment. So that is a lot of pressure on us. So of course, I think also just having experience, we talk about that all the time. We've had friends just not have a great experience with photographers because they, book them and they have a good social media, but they, didn't see a full gallery and it's just not what they were looking for. So it's just really important to ask those questions. I feel like I say that all the time, but it's so good.
What are some of the most common questions we get? Number one usually is like, if you can't make a wedding,
what does that look like?
What does that look like? Number two would be like, how can you handle my family during family photos? That's always a huge one when it comes to that. Another one that we may get, being in the destination space, is how do you guys travel and what does that look like? Let's answer a couple of those. Number one being like, if you can't make the wedding, what does that look like? And so for us, if we can't make it, number one, we're shifting towards having multiple shooters at a wedding. We're in this transition phase where we're doing solo, but we're going now to the 2 shooters when it comes to photo and video.
If it's within their budget too.
If it's within what they want to do, yes. Yeah. And so the biggest thing with that is that it's an insurance policy, you know, like things happen, things come up. And we put that person that now was the second shooter in that lead role. And 9 times out of 10, they are going to be somebody that already lead shoots for other people or themselves. Yeah. So they have that experience too. Yes. So it's not like it's just somebody that shoots like every blue moon. But if he had to step in or she had to step into that role, they can. So that's number one. Number two is we take care of that whole process too. Like we do not put that on the couple. Yeah. That is such a big point that you can also ask too, is like, in the event that you weren't able to make it, because again, it's life, things happen, people can't make it for whatever reason. But in the event that it did happen, like they should still be, you know, held responsible for getting that replacement put into place. Just because you as a bride or a groom does not need to have anything else to worry on that wedding day. So that's number two. But that's a big question that we get. And then family photos. I mean, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Yeah. And if you wanted to touch on that, or the last point too, like if you were asked, hey, like, how are you going to handle my crazy family and corralling everybody? Yes. Like, what are you doing?
It's so, I love when people ask that, because I'm like, now I can't wait to meet your grandma or whoever. I'm like, oh, you're the grandma. No, it's not hard for me. It in a way.
No, I'm laughing at something else. Sorry.
Oh.
I was laughing at another grandma.
Oh, okay.
After you make your point.
Yes. Yeah. I'll ask you grandmas they're fun. It's not hard for me because we've had experience. We work with planners that usually have a family shot list already made, and they can just hand it over to me, or I do a family shot list, or whatever the case is. That way we don't miss anything. It's very in tune. I'm not afraid to literally scream at the whole family in a room and say, okay, like we're starting with this family. This is on deck. Make sure everything's kind of organized. If I have a second shooter, they're able to make sure everything looks good and is prepared for the next shot. So again, with experience, I feel like we've seen it all. Every once in a while we'll get something crazy or new, which is fun, but it's also kind of a challenge sometimes. Like I swear an uncle or a grandpa always goes to the bathroom after ceremony, even though they were told 100 times to stay in their seat and do family photos. They will go pee or to the bathroom. Like Lord knows where they go, usually to the bar, but we will figure it out. And you also can't take it too serious at the same time.
Yeah.
Just gotta let it flow.
It seems like just such a stressful moment for the bride going into that part of the day, but it has rarely been anything that's been an issue for the bride. Like it's just usually like, hey, come on, like let's go. Like it's one of those.
I honestly want them, bride and groom, to stay in one spot. Like they're not finding anyone. They're not yelling. They are standing there. You guys talk. We'll get you a little drink to sip on if needed, and then we will corral everyone else for you.
It's all of that simple. So it truly shouldn't be anything that you stress about as a bride, as long as you have, or a groom, as long as you have a team that is experienced in that realm and is able to speak up in those moments, because it takes a strong individual. That's what shocked me again. Like I feel like we're talking about what we did last time, but like watching you in that moment, I was like, like, where is this coming from? You were like, you were like, hey, you there, like in a nice way, but like very assertive. Yeah. And I had never seen you in a situation like that where you had that many people you had to be assertive, because it's not easy. Like these are strangers, like you don't know them, but
I don't know their names.
At the same time, you got to put your foot down and say, hey, like we got to get these photos done, because the bride and groom want to go have a good time and enjoy, you know, hanging out with people during cocktail hour, because that's usually when it's happening. Yeah. So the quicker we can get these done.
Everyone wants to go party.
Everybody wants to go party.
Let's put on our listening ears and do it and be done. Yes. Yeah. We don't have to do it again.
Yes. And so, and it's one of the few times you get free drinks ever. So people are just
ready
waiting so they can go to that line and get their drinks. But that's such a good point. Again, Can I talk about the grandma? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I think so. Go for it.
The one that there was a grandma at a wedding. Once I tell the story, you'll know who it is.
I also just really hope a bride is like, was this my grandma? Like I hope one of our brides.
They'll know the minute I say it.
Go for it.
It was a grandma at a wedding, She comes up behind me at the reception, like during the dance part.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a little deeper into the dance reception. Like usually the grandparents are out for 20 minutes at max, and they sit down and like they're just watching everybody
drink
else.
Their coffee.
But she was still out there. And then I get this tap on my shoulder. She whispered in my ear. She said, "I will crawl you like a tree." I said, "Oh my gosh." I went home. I said, "Okay, I'm done at this wedding. I gotta go."
Okay, if you're a bride, DM us and see if it was your grandma. Oh my gosh, I
think I told her. Yeah, I definitely.
I think you did.
I think I did. I can't remember. But anyways, I was cracking up, and I came up to you, and you started laughing. You were like, "Yeah,
yeah, I love it."
Oh, that was funny. But yeah, there's that part. So we know how to handle that too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a grandma that...
Wait. What did you do?
I said, "Ha!" I just scooted over like 10 feet.
You were a little scared.
I was a little scared.
She was also like 4'3". Like,
she cracked me up.
Yeah.
She was a character that
You know,
day.
it's a compliment.
I guess so.
Put it in your compliment jar and go shoot some dance floor shots.
Yeah, I guess so. But that was so funny.
Yeah.
So that's...
We've heard it all.
Yeah, we've heard quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a question that we get a lot. And then destination wise, a question that we get a lot too is like, how do you travel? Being based out of Kansas City. And so I'll touch on this, but anytime there's any type of connecting flight, whether it's going to, a city within the United States or even overseas, for within the U.S., we always give ourselves a day if there's a connecting flight. And the rare scenarios that like it's just a direct shot, we might do the same day. Just because there's going to be a number of flights that go out that morning.
Yeah.
And usually one of the 4 or 5, whether it's like Dallas, Denver.
Yeah, there's specific
Chicago,
places.
Nashville. Like we can get there within like an hour and it's not that big of a deal. But if you are, California, New York, one of those, we give ourselves time. So we always give ourselves at least a day of space when it comes to anything in the U.S. And then 2 days with anything international, which we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah.
That's just to make sure, if anything were to get delayed because things happen, we have that space to navigate. And so that's a big question that we get a lot. And then anything else question wise that I feel like we're always being asked. I feel like with the couples that feel a little bit more awkward on camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get a lot of that. Like,
and posing.
We're uncomfortable around the camera. We're not super candid, we'll need help posing for sure. We get a lot of that. And
so for the couple that says we feel awkward in front of the camera, like what do you as the lead photographer tell them?
Everyone is very uncomfortable in front of the camera except for a model. And
literally,
I mean us too. Like it is everyone. Yeah. And so just have that in the back of your mind, and we are able to pose you and also tell you like, hey, take your hand out of your pocket or put it in your pocket if you don't know what to do with it or whatever. So we are able to guide and direct you, and it's not as bad as you think. That's what we hear a lot, like after an engagement session or even wedding where we're doing portraits, like the husband is usually like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I'm like, yeah. Go party. Like it's weird, obviously, to have cameras in front of your face and you're already high strung and maybe anxious and nervous or whatever on your wedding day. So we just really try to also take a step back, give you some time to relax. And then I always say, like, after the second ceremony's over, it's like a whole new, like your shoulders are just down and you're just excited to see everyone, and you're married and you're happy. So usually those pictures are a little bit better and less posed, which is fun. So yeah, that's a great point. Like, because again, the number of couples that we get that are not comfortable in front of the camera, if you want to call it that, I kid you not, it's like 95% of them. Yeah, but you would never know looking at the photos because you do an amazing job with that. And just as a whole, we're able to make them feel comfortable on the wedding day. Yes. Comfort creates candid.
Yes, it does.
I want that tattooed.
You go for it.
Just kidding.
And then the last question that we get a lot is like backup equipment.
Yeah.
People always ask like, okay, if your camera fails, like what do you do? Or if your memory card or whatever. I would say most creatives in this space nowadays have cameras again that are able to record on 2 slots. And so if one failed, there's always a backup.
SDs.
Then they have multiple cameras.
Yep.
It's a good question to ask.
It is.
Obviously you should, but A majority of us are having multiples of everything. So cameras, lighting, audio. The only thing I really don't have, or we don't have multiple of, is like drones. Like
Yeah, we have one.
we have one drone, but I have Florida. That was the only time, because it was like my first week of having it. This was what, 4 years ago.
It was 6 a.m. in Florida.
6 a.m. in Florida, and I was flying in a bird attack, and I didn't want to hit the bird, so I flew it away, not paying attention to where I was going, and it flew into a tree. And so one of the maintenance men had to come get it out.
A palm tree at 6 a.m.
Yes, and that has now made me realize I got to watch out for birds. We are good.
We used it that wedding. We were fine.
Yeah, and we still use it that wedding.
You live
so
and learn.
that is the only thing we don't have multiple of. But everything else we do in case anything were to fail. So between us, we have 5-6 cameras, like
way too
4
many.
or 5 audio sources, more lights than you can count at this point. We are covered in every sector, and the majority of your vendors are gonna be. But it's a good question just to ask, just to make sure, because you don't want your wedding lost because of a failed camera and they have nothing to back it up with.
Yeah.
And so that's the big 5 that we get. So make sure you ask your people that you're thinking about hiring about that, because that is so important to make sure you're comfortable with them.
Yeah. But
outside of that, any other last comments that you have that does not involve Justin Bieber?
Then no. I'm done.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about his performance?
Go ahead and give everybody your thoughts on his performance real quick.
All I'm saying is that I'm not ready to have a child until I see him on tour, because I will be front row. So Justin, if you're listening to this, please go on tour sooner than later so we can start our family.
He might play us on YouTube at one of his concerts. Yeah.
Live stream us.
I'm about to say live stream us. Hi, welcome to
That would be insane.
Yeah, for real.
Insane. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, we need to go so I can go watch his performance.
Off to the Masters. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 15, 16, 17, something like that.
Yes.
We will see y'all later.
Bye.